the divine artist and repertoire administrator, the divine artist and repertoire coordinator, the divine accompanist, the divine advance person, the divine album cover designer, the divine arranger, the divine artist relations and development representative, the divine assistant engineer, the divine audio engineer, the divine background singer, the divine backing vocalist, the divine band director, the divine bassist, the divine booking agent, the divine business manager, the divine campus representative, the divine celebrity bodyguard, the divine choreographer, the divine college, conservatory, or university music teacher, the divine composer, the divine concert hall manager, the divine concert hall marketing director, the divine concert promoter, the divine concert master, the divine conductor, the divine consumer researcher, the divine copyist, the divine cruise ship musician, the divine dance/cover band, the divine director of artists and repertoire, the divine director of development, the divine director of educational activities, the divine director of public relations, the divine director of publicity, the divine district supervisor of music, the divine DJ, disc jockey, the divine drummer, the divine entertainment attorney, the divine ethnomusicologist, the divine festival director, the divine field merchandiser, the divine general manager, the divine guitar technician, the divine guitarist, the divine instrument repair and restoration specialist, the divine intern, the divine jingle writer, the divine licensing representative, the divine lighting technician, the divine lyricist, the divine managing director, the divine marketing coordinator, the divine mastering engineer, the divine mix engineer, the divine music blogger, the divine music business accountant, the divine music critic, the divine music director, the divine music editor, the divine music historian, the divine music journalist, the divine music librarian, the divine music marketing representative, the divine music photographer, the divine music producer, the divine music publisher, the divine music store manager, the divine music store salesperson, the divine music supervisor, the divine music teacher, the divine music therapist, the divine music video director, the divine music web designer, the divine musical instrument builder/designer, the divine musical instrument sales representative, the divine musicologist, the divine nightclub manager, the divine orchestra manager, the divine orchestral music librarian, the divine orchestrator, the divine percussionist, the divine personal assistant to recording artist, the divine personal manager, the divine personnel director, the divine pianist, the divine piano tuner technician, the divine poster artist, the divine private instrument teacher, the divine production manager, the divine production music writer, the divine professional manager, the divine program director, the divine promotion manager, the divine promotion staffer, the divine public relations counselor, the divine publicist, the divine rack jobber, the divine radio DJ, disc jockey, the divine record company salesperson, the divine record industry advertising account executive, the divine record producer, the divine record store clerk, the divine record store manager, the divine recording artist website content producer, the divine recording engineer, the divine recording group, the divine recording studio manager, the divine regional sales manager, the divine roadie, the divine rock star, the divine section leader, the divine section member, the divine session musician, the divine session singer, the divine show band, the divine singer, the divine social media manager, the divine songwriter, the divine sound designer, the divine sound technician, the divine speech pathologist, the divine staff publicist, the divine stage manager, the divine subscriptions and ticket service director, the divine symphony business manager, the divine talent buyer, the divine tour bus driver, the divine tour coordinator, the divine tour manager, the divine tour publicist, the divine video game composer, the divine VJ, video jockey, the divine voice therapist, the divine website marketing manager,